Welcome back to Showcase, the show where I walk you through the lore, writing process, and animation models used in my Transformers AU, Siege World. In today's episode, we're going to be having a look at Beast Hunter's Optimus Prime, and a bunch of other random Beast Hunters weirdos I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. Now, this one here, you might say, that's Bumblebee. You would be right. This was originally a Bumblebee toy, but I have a little rule for myself. All repaints get a new name and are a separate character. So the toy this guy is based off was the European exclusive Beast Hunters Bumblebee. So because of that, we just name him Euro. Confusion gone? Good. And before we get into the video, big thanks to Firelord2047 for requesting this video and giving me an excuse to talk about Prime Hotshot. If you have any requests, leave them down in the comments and I'll try and get to all of them. We've seen a lot of stories from the Third Great War, so many that I'm currently working on a video breaking down the entire conflict. And today, we're going to be adding to the mountain of little mini-stories set during that war. Now, despite this bot here looking like Optimus Prime, and being known as Optimus Prime, he isn't actually Optimus Prime. He was originally known as Gatling. Gatling was a largely unimportant bot before the war. Originally, he was a transport worker. His alt mode was specifically made for fluid transport. With his large frame, you'd think he'd fit in with the Autobot military pretty well. But when the war started, he signed up, but didn't thrive. Despite his previous job, he was really clumsy, and personality-wise, to put it simply, he was up his own tailpipe. According to him, he was the best bot in the battalion, and could take down any Decepticon with ease. To everybody else, he was just a bit of a pretentious asshole. Even his commanders grew sick of him, and eventually transferred him to a backwater scout ship at the edge of Autobot space, named the Delta Supreme. The ship's patrol route was on the opposite side of the galaxy from Decepticon territory. Originally this was meant to be a punishment, thinking that they could send him off away from combat, he might get demoralized and just might hate his time there. But Gatling loved it. It really stroked his ego for some reason, to a point where he even started calling himself Optimus. He was the biggest in the crew and he could easily talk himself up. He grew comfortable amongst the entire group. But after a few years, the war was coming to an end, and they were ordered back to Cybertron. High Command didn't need forces scouting the opposite side of the galaxy from the front lines. Optimus was handling the bridge when the call came through. This meant he'd need to go back to his old life, back to being the bottom of the rung. Back on Cybertron, he was nothing. But here he was the strongest in the crew, the most important person on the ship. He wasn't giving that up. He turned off the ship's tracker and set it on a collision course with a quarantined planet. This planet was a former colony that had had an outbreak of a degenerative virus that would slowly strip Cybertronians' brains out of their base functions, turning them essentially into an animalistic, mindless bot. When the ship crashed, most of the crew were killed. Optimus survived and took command of the survivors. Among the survivors, there was Hotshot, the group's main warrior. He was assigned to the crew after being kicked out of the Wreckers due to an accidental friendly fire incident. Euro was the group's engineer and scientist. He volunteered for the ship, wanting a secluded place to test his new creations. After they crashed, he also created all the anti-beast weapons the crew used, like Optimus's miniguns, Hotshot's dual cannons, and Magnus's replacement hand. And speaking of Magnus, he didn't really have a role amongst the group. He just did what needed to be done. Originally, he was going to be the next Ultra Magnus, even having his body altered to resemble the original. But after some problems with his upgrade, he was deemed a failure by Autobot High Command, and was no longer suitable for frontline fighting, so they sent him off to the Delta Supreme. Finally, there was Huffer and Ironhide. They were triplets. The third of the trio was Trailcutter, a proper, bona fide war hero. Unlike their brother, Huffer and Ironhide were just content to sit back and get some easy wartime pay. After the crash, they just took up a general warrior position, fighting off anything that attacked the group. After the crash, under Optimus's leadership, they abandoned the shipwreck, travelling far from it and creating their own small settlement. They lived peacefully for a time, occasionally having to fight off some Predacons, who they assumed were just wildlife, till Euro started exhibiting signs of the virus. Optimus knew about the virus from the ship's navigational data. So he could have warned them. He could have even done something to try and save Euro, or at least minimize the effects of the virus. But he wasn't going to risk anyone finding out that he had caused the crash. The others managed to put together that Euro was infected by some kind of virus and quarantined him. Hotshot and Ironhide would end up venturing back to the wreck of the Delta Supreme in hopes of finding something they could use to help Euro. But while searching the ship, Ironhide found the remnants of the nav computer, and along with it, data that showed Optimus had set the collision course with the planet. No, that couldn't be right. He couldn't have. He was their friend. He couldn't doom them all to die on some backwater planet. They never had actually found out what caused the crash. Ironhide assumed they were hit by an asteroid, or it was some kind of navigation glitch. But none of that made any sense. No, his crewmate, his friend, had intentionally caused this crash. And as he checked the computer more, he found a log on the planet. Not only had Optimus caused the crash, killing at least 50 bots on the ship, he knowingly crashed them onto a planet that would kill them in a matter of years. For all he knew, he was already infected. Everyone was already infected. Even if a rescue ship could find them, they wouldn't risk saving them. There's no way they'd ever get home. He showed Hotshot the data, and after some discussion, they both agreed. Optimus had to die. But they couldn't just rush in. They had to have a plan. But Ironhide wasn't listening. He ran off towards their settlement. It was a 2-day journey back, and Hotshot did his best to keep up, but Ironhide was just too fast. When he made it back to the settlement, he charged through the gates, running past everybody, trying to break into Optimus's room. He was screaming about how he knew what Optimus had done, and how he was going to kill him. Optimus shot Ironhide through the doors. To the others, it looked like he was just infected and went crazy. Only Hotshot knew the truth. But Optimus had a plan for this. He convinced the others that if Ironhide was infected, surely Hotshot was too. They were only gone for 2 days. Look what had happened to Ironhide in that time. Hotshot had to be killed. They had seen the damage that Ironhide had done, and they'd all seen what was happening to Euro. They all just thought Hotshot was too dangerous, and they couldn't risk infecting themselves by trapping him. Hotshot was forced to flee. He hid in the forest around the settlement for months. He found himself acting more like a Predacon. Whether that was out of necessity, or the infection progressing, he just didn't know. He kept an eye on Optimus and the others from afar, waiting for an opportunity to kill Optimus. Over the months of observation, he watched Magnus's infection progress, till he would be killed by Optimus. That was the last straw for him. That night, Hotshot was going to kill Optimus. First, he took Huffer by surprise, knocking him out. Then he freed Euro from his cage. By that point, he'd fully progressed with the virus, and just fled into the forest. But when he reached Optimus's room, he realized he was fairly far into the infection himself. This was perfect. Death was far too merciful for him anyway. He locked Optimus inside, and left him there. Hotshot would make his way far from the outpost, and took his own life, before the virus could fully take him. We don't really know what happened to Optimus and Huffer. They most likely succumbed to the virus, just like Euro, and eventually died. These guys haven't shown up on Siege World yet, but I do have some plans for Hotshot. Overall, I really love these designs, so I wouldn't be surprised if they show up in some little supporting roles in the future, or even just background cameos. These guys were pretty fun to write for, with how similar all the Optimus Primes usually are to each other. It's always fun working with them in a Siege World setting, because I get to go all out with a new personality and a new story. I know some people have been a bit confused on that, but think of it this way. If every Optimus is the same, what's the point in having more than one? If I'm gonna have a second Optimus, they have to be significantly different from the original. And I don't want to just sink into the evil Optimus all the time, but I feel like this one here, he just gives me a good evil Optimus, especially with how aggressive he looks. I know people talk about Bayverse Optimus being, like, psychotic and a war criminal. This, like, Beast Hunter's Optimus looks like how people describe Bayverse Optimus personality-wise. I also like that this version's not a Prime. I didn't want to make every version of Optimus a Prime. If a lot of bots are going to name themselves after Optimus and try and look like him, chances are that for everyone that becomes a Prime, there's going to be a few thousand that just weren't cut out for it. The others were all pretty much blank slates. I really like Ironhide and Huffer. along with Trail Cutter, with them being triplets. I do have some plans to go through Trail Cutter's story at some point in the future, but that's a ways away. I haven't made him a model yet. I also kept Hotshot being a member of the Wreckers. From what I know about his Prime version, he doesn't really have much story. I think he had some personality, but I didn't really take from that. I did want to include the fact that he was a member of the Wreckers, just because that's the most defining thing about Prime Hotshot. For the models, these guys are all based on their Prime toys. They'll have at least a few recolors either done or in the works. For that, Optimus still needs the Nemesis colors, I still need to finish that Ironhide group with a Trail Cutter, and a Cup as well. And Hotshot shared a mold with Bumblebee in the toy line, so I'm probably going to be using that a whole lot more as well. For weapons, Optimus has his faceplate, miniguns, his sword, his handguns, and his jetpack is articulated. Magnus has his claw hand, Euro has a gun in his engine, and his handgun. Hotshot has his visor, dual arm cannons, and his handguns. Huffer has his shoulder cannons and arm blades. And finally, Ironhide has his cannons. For transformations, starting with Optimus, head in, arms up, miniguns into place, legs up, bring this panel out, front wheels into place, finally, bring the jetpack into place, and we have Prime in his truck mode. Next, Magnus, lay him flat, head in, arms into place, legs up, cab into place, chest panel up, and we have Magnus in his truck mode. Next, Euro, lay him flat, head in, arms into place, bring his shoulder blades down, hood out, shift the roof up, legs up, wheels into place, and we have Euro in his car mode. Next, Hotshot, lay him flat, head in, hood out, arms into place, legs up, roof up, bring the wheels out, and we have Hotshot in his car mode. Finally, Huffer and Ironhide share a transformation, so we'll just look at Huffer. Lay him flat, head in, arms into place, hood out, legs up, blades back to form the exhaust, wheels out, and we have Huffer in his truck mode. Ironhide's the same, but we just bring the cannons back here to form some boosters. And that's Beast Hunter's Optimus Prime, and a bunch of other random guys from the Beast Hunters toy line. I know the main cast from Prime all had Beast Hunters figures, but just like the toys, all of my models for those were retooled from the originals, so we won't be looking at them till I look at the main cast. For what's coming up, on Sunday, I'm thinking about making a collection tour. Since I've got this new phone that will actually record some reviews, I thought I might as well show off my shelves. They're in a bit of a weird state. I mix all the stuff I collect together, and most of my stuff is in dioramas, so there's not really any rhyme or reason to it, but it's still fun to look at. On Wednesday, we have the first of my new review series. I'm going to be having a look at the Blockies Insecticons. Now I know everybody does reviews, so I've tried to make it a bit more unique. I'll be the first to admit it's not perfect. I just got the phone and I'm trying some new stuff with editing, and it's also my first time editing in this kind of style, so there's a bit of a learning curve to it. I'm hoping to have it all locked down by next week's video on the Constructicons. This one's more just a little test. I still think it turned out really well and I'm happy with it. So yeah, give that a look if you're interested in them. Finally, on Friday, we're going to be swinging back around to have a look at one I've been wanting to look at for a while. All of my Hearts of Steel Autobots and Decepticons.